Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Offer Owner Spotlight series. I'm super excited to have today's guests on because he himself is what we like to call a publisher or an offer publisher. And what's super impressive about what he's doing is he's currently publishing one offer that is doing around $50,000 a day with cold traffic. And I actually had the pleasure of being able to verify these numbers a few months ago when we hopped on a call and I got to see behind the scenes and it was truly impressive. And so today we're not going to be leaking the information on what the offer is. If you guys ask, we won't tell you. We're going to keep it private. But I convinced Doug to be here. He doesn't do many of these, but I convinced him to come on and just share what he's doing and hopefully help you guys see so much further at what's possible in this game of online marketing, info marketing, and just business in general. And so, Doug, I appreciate you being here today.
No worries. My pleasure.
Well, one thing that I found super interesting about what you're doing with your publishing client, and we'll call it your partner because obviously you're partnering with this person who's the face, they're the expert, and you're just the person behind the scenes. I find it interesting because when I talked to you, you weren't doing any high ticket. So there's
Yeah,
no high ticket, right? You don't have a high ticket back end. It's not like there's group coaching. It's strictly you're just doing low ticket right now, correct?
all low ticket. Yeah, I've never sold anything over $1,000.
It's crazy. How
Yeah.
does one get to $50,000 a day then with just low ticket? Because you hear, a lot of times, high ticket, do high ticket, or do 5Ks, charge more. And
Yeah,
people think
yeah.
it's impossible to. So how do you do that? What do you think it comes down to?
I mean, really, we've spoken about this. Like, I come from an e-commerce background, and so doing 50K a day in e-commerce is not that big. It's not that big, right? Like
Mm,
doing 200K a day in e-commerce consistently is that's a big brand, but like there's a lot of companies selling 50 to $200 products that do
mm,
$50,000 a day, $100,000 a day. And so coming from that background, I was just had the experience of being like, well, if you can do it with a physical product, you could do it with a digital one, right? And just have to take those e-commerce principles and apply them to info. Um, and yeah, that's how you do it, right? And
mm. What doesn't cross over from ecom to info though? Have you noticed anything like, like how we market it or grow it doesn't relate? Like, what are some differences?
yeah, yeah. The biggest difference I learned, it's taken me a long time because I switched. I mean, I still do some e-commerce, but like, it took me about 5 years to realize that like when when you have an offer that has an e-commerce product and an info product, e-commerce is always easier to sell um, than the info product because
Mhm.
when someone buys e-commerce, like if you buy a pill, you just all you have to do is take a pill and it does all the work for you. Whereas when you buy a course or templates, you're buying work. So you have to, you know that like I'm buying this thing and I'm going to have to do all this effort. So that's one of the biggest differences that I found. But there's a lot, like honestly, there's a lot of crossover I find
Mm.
in terms of paid ads, funnel building,
Yep.
upsells, all that stuff. And the last thing I'll say is just like I'm not against high ticket. I just, you know, there's two ways. There's two ways to do it, right? There's the Hormozy, like you have a really small market, but you charge lots and lots and lots of money, and you can do really well that way. And then there's the opposite, where you can have a really huge market and charge very little money. And you know,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's the one you personally, I know we've talked, but a big thing you always get on me is like TAM, like total addressable market. And I like
yeah,
come with ideas with you and you're like, nah, not big enough. What is your like for total addressable market, what number are you looking for and how do you kind of get an idea if you're close to that or not?
yeah. And like I want to actually just want to share one thing before
Yeah,
we
for
go into
sure.
that one, but it I remembered like before I got into this partnership that I'm in right now. Um, I was working with some other clients, like I was doing rev share before, as like media buyer, flash funnel builder, info products. Um, and I went to the Kajabi like headquarters. They had like this not mastermind, focus group. Like right
Mm.
after they raised like $500 billion, they flew all of their biggest people, all of the biggest clients in, and were like, or not all the biggest, but like a lot of like the bigger ones, just to ask them like, what could we do to make a like enterprise, something you'd pay like $2,000, $3,000 a month for. And when I was there, they're all kind of seven-figure businesses there, and there's these two people who kind of were the like the real life version of like the argument I have inside myself between high ticket and low ticket. So one of them, she sold a $3,000 program, and the other guy had a $14 a month membership. And I met them both the first day, and like, you know, the woman, she was like super strong personality, like Boston accent, like you need to charge more, you need to charge more. And then this guy, I forget his name, but he's like, well, I don't feel like it, and we stayed up really late and they kept going back and forth. And then it turned out like at the end of the night, I was like, how much money did you make last year and how much money did you make last year? And they both made almost exactly the same. Like I think it was like
Dang.
1.8 million. And I was like, this is this is it. Like there's more than one way to skin a cat, I
Mm.
guess is the saying. But
Yeah.
that was really formative for me. And then another experience that happened there too was like one of the people I met, her and her husband had this offer that like was it was for sex and porn addiction.
Mhm.
And they were telling me like these guys are at rock bottom and they come into the program, they completely transform. And that was for me, like that I remember seeing that and coming home on the flight being like, man, I want to find an offer that like transforms people. That like they come
Mm.
into it. They don't have to be at rock bottom, but they
Yeah.
just have to, this gets into market, into TAM. Like TAM is not the most important thing, but like having the right market. If you want to do low ticket and you don't want to have sales teams and like, you know, coaching call and then build your coaching team, you have to go low ticket. And in order to do that, you need a big enough market. But like it doesn't just need to be a big market. One thing that I found like in my publishing criteria was like the market needs to be big enough, like something that like 1 in 10 people would experience.
Mm.
And it needs to be like either really uncomfortable or like a really deep, deep, deep desire that they have.
Mm.
And so like in that sex and porn addiction thing, I again, it was super inspiring to see people transform. And like an example that I use is like crying babies. Like,
Mm.
I've got two kids. My youngest one's now like 14 months old. She's still not really good at sleeping. She wakes up like 4 times a night to to feed. And like, so when you think about this market, like probably every parent with a young baby is not getting enough sleep. And so if you have this magic product that can, an info product or whatever it is, that can really truly solve that problem, then you've got a really big market and you've got this like transformation where it's like, do what I say for 7 days and you'll be sleeping through the night and your life will be changed.
Mm.
And so those are kind of the two aspects that I look for in the market is
Awesome.
like a really deep desire. Sometimes it can be pain, sometimes just desire, and
Mm.
then large enough market so that you can
Yeah.
you can go low ticket.
The sleeping baby sleeping offer. I talked to a friend. He said he buys this course like every time he has a kid, and so it's like $100, and
Yeah.
it's like some sort of, I don't know why he has to buy it over and over, but it's like a challenge or it's a one off. But he like
Yeah.
re-get it and go through it, and I was like, dang, it's a repeat purchase times how many people have kids. Like that's crazy. Which
Yeah.
like most info offers, it's not even repeat. It's like you pay for it once. It's like okay, that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's another important part. Like if you want to have a low ticket thing that lasts years,
Mm,
like decades, you need that. I think you need that repeat.
yeah.
You need to build that
Would
in
you?
somehow.
So talking about finding this partnership. And a little later, I know before we started, you talked about there's some business ideas or things that you've been crushing on or liking. So we'll talk about that in a bit. But going back to finding this first partnership that, or this one that you're on right now, how did that come about? How did you negotiate the deal? What did the deal structure look like? What were your responsibilities? What were their responsibilities? Walk us through that, because I know people are going to be curious.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. So it was, I mean, I've been doing marketing for quite a long time, like digital marketing. And I had like good trophies, like, seven-figure a year businesses, ones that I'm like, this was at zero, and then, here's what I did, we got it to this. So um that made it a lot easier. But I had a criteria, basically, I wrote it down. It was like large enough market with that deep, deep desire. I wanted to find an expert who had been doing this for more than 10 years.
Mm,
So I didn't want to be publishing someone who's new because I wanted them to like be able to make a really good product. And if you think of like, in my mind, it was like, think of a marriage counselor. If you have someone who's been doing this for 10, 15, 20 years and you ask them a question, like, what are the five things you need to avoid? They're going to be able to rattle it off, right? And so that was one thing that was important to me. Like, been an expert for a really long time. Um, had a product or like a process that can create this transformation so that we can get the testimonials and, create a really good product. Um, and so what I did was I just wrote it down. Like, this is my criteria, this is what I want. Then I went looking, like I went Googling. I made a spreadsheet. I made a list of 10 people, reached out to all of them. And one of them got back to me and we started working together. And that's my current
That's it.
partnership.
That's
In
it.
terms of deal, like, you know,
Yeah.
so the way that I do it and the way that I do most deals is like, let's do a 3-month trial, see if we like working with each other. Here's going
Mm,
to be the split. Here's if it goes well, here's what I want to do after. So, so the way I structured it was like, hey, I'll pay for all the advertising. The sales will pay it back, and then we'll split the profits. And then we'll do that for 3 months. And then after that, if we want to work together, we'll do a 12-month deal, profit
mm,
share as well. And if I hit a certain sales target during that time, it'll trigger like a 5 or 10 year profit share deal. So
mm.
I wanted it to be a long-term thing. Um,
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
we eventually ended up doing equity because like I was looking at the business, I was thinking through the agreement, and I was like, you know what? How could I get screwed over in this? And I figured if I have a profit share and my business partner owns 100% of the shares in the company and then sells the company,
True.
that could screw
True.
me over. So we did an equity deal, and I kind of pitched the idea of like being able to sell the company. So we did that, which has been great. And that's basically how I set it
That's
up.
awesome. When it comes to selling the deal, like how you pitched it, one thing I know people think when we talk about like, oh yeah, you could, exit info offers or, some people can, some can't. How would you remove the creator then or the expert from it? Like obviously you don't need to go into super details you don't want to, but what does that look like? Have you kind of thought of a plan on how you're going to separate them or businesses you want to model?
Totally, yeah. None of the products or domains that we have my expert's name in them.
Mm,
Um,
nice.
and so, like you look at any business that's kind of exitable, like masterclass.com, they've got however many experts on there.
True.
So like if we're doing like baby sleeping care, if you had like an expert who does like baby sleeping and an expert who does breastfeeding and an expert who does toddler development and an expert who does like discipline or marriage stuff post kids, like
Yeah.
you kind of create this ecosystem that has really good products and then has all the same principles like an e-commerce business that makes it sellable, doesn't rely on the founders, doesn't take a lot of time. It's growing. It's not relied on a single uh, acquisition channel. Um, you build a great business, a really good business, and growing,
True.
and someone
Yeah.
will buy it.
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah.
So, what walk us through then how you launched this product with the expert? Did you go to her organic audience first and then to ads? I know you said in your deal structure, which is different than somehow beginners would do it, but you front the advertising dollars. So you obviously invested almost like an angel investor, it seems like from the start.
hmm
So yeah, how was the launch? How'd that go? Just those
Yeah.
first 3 months.
Yeah. So we kind of repackaged, um, my partner had like an online course, or like a series of courses. And and again, like they were shot on a phone, pretty, pretty standard stuff. And um, so yeah, I think I said she was doing, maybe a couple $1,000s a month in revenue, and just couldn't break through the next level. And so when I came in, um, the first problem she had was she was giving stuff away for free and then trying to sell a low ticket. And so I used the AC format. We renamed the products, priced them, set up the economics like front end price, bump, upsells, downsells, back like
Yep.
post purchase stuff.
Yep.
Um, and this probably, this is for me was like a really it was the first few months was like a big turning point for me in my career because like what I learned was like, I'd been doing marketing for uh 8, 9 years, media buying,
Yeah.
Facebook ads, grew companies to 7 figures a year for multiple years, same companies. And the first few months in this project were like they weren't amazing. I wasn't super
Mm.
stoked. Like I thought they were going to go a lot better.
Mm.
And I was kind of humbled and I was like, man, why is this like so hard? And so what I ended up doing was I bought coaching
Mm.
um, from so Alex Vedadov's e-commerce scaling secrets. I'd been following the guy for like so long, and I ended up by like a stroke of luck getting his CMO as my coach, Mark
Mhm.
Studer, who's I don't know if you know, do you know Mark?
I looked him up after you referenced him before.
He's got like a YouTube channel now, Mark Builds Brands. I love that he's like putting his face out there. He like does all these videos, no
Yeah.
shirt. He's just this Jack dude like in a dark room, like
That's awesome. Yeah,
sharing
dude,
stuff.
his thumbnails always get you're like, what the heck is
He's
this
uh
kid?
he's awesome, man. And so he like he is like a gangster and like he's
Hmm.
invested in every single mastermind that you can think of and every single everything. He just eats like
Dang.
coaching. And what I learned over time was like I was hitting this plateau, right? And we couldn't get past I think it was like $30,000 a month. And I was like, I know we can do 6 figures a month. I know we can do multiple 6 figures a month. And so Mark kind of coached me through setting up the AC funnel, how to do the upsells, how to position things. And like within a week or two of implementing what he taught me, um, we were like, hitting record days. And then it just kept going. And so that's what like that was a big realization for me that like if I never paid
Hmm.
for the coaching, I never would have figured that out and I wouldn't be where I am right now.
Hmm.
I'm
What
completely convinced.
what do you think? I'm curious because I know some people like growing up in this space, I would hear people use that or say that because they were trying to get me to buy their course, right? Obviously,
Yeah.
you're not trying to sell anything, so you're just saying this because you truly believe it. What really was it that he did? Was it purely tactical stuff that helped? Was it opening your eyes mindset wise? Like, what really did you take away from it that contributed to the success?
For me, it was
It
tactical.
was tactical.
Um,
Okay.
so he's just like just do this. Like, so we were pushing subscriptions and I was doing free
Mm.
trial, $1 for your first month, like, trying webinars, trying all this different stuff. And he's like, just do the AC funnel, like 20, do $20. People don't like subscriptions. Do $20 thing and then upsell here and it was tactical and he's like, here's how to do the upsells. And a lot of that stuff came from Alan. And a
Mm.
lot of those tactics are things that I know that have been around for a long time, but I just didn't know. And so that's looking back on it, I'm like, there 1,000% is levels to the game. And if you're not hitting your goals, it's because there's something you don't know, and there's something that
Mm.
other people know. And like now I'm like I invest so much in coaches, consultants, whatever, and it's in my
Yeah.
opinion is the highest ROI that you can have. And those people should charge a lot of money because like they could tell you something like they could tell you one Zoom call could make you
Yeah.
100K a month,
Yeah. Yep.
So
True.
um mentorship, like what was I saying? There's levels to this game, and like people like
Yeah.
Alan, it's like there's these affiliates or these people who are like so creative that yeah, for me, I wouldn't have found these tactics anywhere else.
Mm.
Um, yeah, and then over that time, it was like the tactics were working, the business was taking off, and then I had to my personality had to catch up to it, like
Mm.
my self-worth, my like the whole mindset stuff. Mark didn't really help me too much with that. He was just kind of like, I think we did 5K in a day, and I was like, if we could do that every day, like my mind would be blown. And he's like, okay, so you did it once, why can't you do it more than once? And I was like, I don't know, why not? And that was kind of the deepest like mindset thing that we had.
Yeah.
But
True.
now,
True.
like after
Yeah.
knowing him for a couple of years, like we have more talks about
Mm.
the deeper mindset stuff. But
Yeah.
some people, yeah, I see. So on Twitter, like I don't have a profile, but like
Yeah.
I follow a lot of the direct to consumer, the affiliate people, and so many of them trash people who sell courses about how to make money. But like they're like, oh, why don't you sell a course, blah blah blah. But like in my experience, like buying people's courses, sure, you're gonna have a bunch of stuff that doesn't work, but
Yeah.
you'll find stuff that will like really change the game for you.
Yeah. That's super interesting. What do your responsibilities look like now at this level, doing over 50,000 a day? What does your team look like at this next level of offer publishing?
Hmm. Yeah, it's pretty lean. And for a while, I think it was still is probably too lean. But it was like me, my business partner. We now have a CFO who does like tax compliance and currency
Mm.
money stuff. Um, we have 12 customer service people, full time and growing.
That's great. I know.
Um,
We talked. You're like, yeah, man, you just got to hire more customer support. I was like, that's how you know you're pushing volume. I was like, that. I don't think I've ever, with like the smaller markets I've been in, where higher prices, like your customer support's like the last thing usually
yeah,
you hire for. But that's crazy. Like what
yeah.
you're doing, like
And
12.
I think this year we'll probably get up to like 20 or 25 people, full-time customer service, just answering
Dang.
emails. Um, and then we've got a video editor slash VA who kind of posts like the organic social stuff, and
Yep.
she up until a couple weeks ago would edit all the ads, or I would edit the
Mm.
ads. And I use some contractors like Reedy, built like to design the funnel.
Yep.
Before that though, like the first year and a half, I built everything, I wrote everything, I edited all the
Yeah.
videos. Um, but then I was like, okay, this funnel's so ugly, like let's make it look nice. And then
Yeah.
a few
That's
months ago,
good.
I hired two like senior marketing people to help me because I'm like,
Mm.
I'm doing email, I'm doing CRO, I'm doing ads, I'm doing plus I'm doing make trying to improve the product. Plus, so I have a CRO email guy now, who's awesome,
Mm,
uh, and creative strategist.
nice. What
So
is
just focusing on ads,
so it's just ads then, when you say creative strategist? Okay. So
just
you just
ads.
come up with the hooks. How many ads are you guys testing a day right now? Like new variations, or are you just strictly just running the winners?
We'll probably do like 10, 10 variations per week.
Okay.
Um,
Week. Yep.
Most of them are like iterations on winners, and then a couple
Mm,
of them we're trying to
yeah,
get
just again.
new, yeah, get new concepts to work, basically.
Yeah. What does your partner think about the situation? Like the
Uh,
results and everything.
yeah, yeah. When we share numbers, like when I do reports, like it's just like a lot of swear words. Like, yeah,
Has her personality caught up with how much money she's making now? Like, or she's like, what the like,
she's, you
or is
know,
she pretty like, yeah, I deserve this. Let's go make
she's
more.
awesome, man. Like, yeah. So we complement each other really well.
Hmm.
And so yeah, my um, has her personality changed? You know, this is something I heard from like Warren Buffett say. I'm a big Warren Buffett fan, and he's like, money doesn't make you evil, doesn't make you good. It just makes you more of what you are. So if you're
Hmm.
already evil, if you're already good, it makes you more of that. And
Yep.
so, my business partner, she's really passionate about health, and so
Hmm.
um, she's traveling quite a lot. You know,
Yeah.
but I wouldn't say she's changed.
Yeah.
She's changed a lot,
That's
but like
great. That's crazy to think about
in
because you
terms
said when
of,
you first partnered with her, she's like making like a couple thousand, like from
yeah,
her
the course
courses and
sales are
stuff.
probably like 60 to 80K a year, maybe. Um,
And now you're doing that in a day
yeah, yeah. On good days, we'll do,
on
yeah,
good days. Yeah.
6 figures. Yeah, but um, in terms of like, it's interesting too, our partnership, because like I've gotten to points like where she's got she always opens up my mind to like even bigger. Like, so she'll do it
Dang.
and then I'll do it and then she'll do it. And we kind of play this back and forth game
Yeah.
because when I approached her, I was like, hey, I think we could do like $5 million a year. Like, that's what I think we could do. And she's like, what? What? And then, we blew past that in the first year. And then when we started talking about the equity deal, I was like, we could probably sell this for like 10 to $15 million, like as an info app product. She's like, what? That like never crossed my mind. And then we had this joke between us. Like, I was like, hey, I want to get to like 100,000 front end customers. And she's like, really? Like, I feel like we should like shoot for 1 million. And then that's kind of become the new goal of like the front end customers. But
Mm.
then now it's like transitioning to like 1 million like subscribers or like members to
Ah,
the like
dang.
recurring. So
That's
um
awesome. Yeah.
and then like I had the conversation like, hey, like I think, you know, this quarter we could, if we spoke to like brokers, we could probably sell the company for like 30 plus $1 million. And like to me, that's
100%.
a big deal. And she's like, yeah, but so like for us, like there's so many more people to help, which
Yeah, it's just she's because it's like she's if she
it's a
still
mission.
enjoys it, it's like you might as well stay in it because you're gonna leave and then you're gonna want to come back in anyways.
Totally. And
But if you
she's
hate it,
like,
you're like you burn out, you might as well sell it.
maybe like anything over 100 million, like we'll really kind of consider. And I'm like, okay, okay. And again, it's like, what am I gonna do if I sell this, right? Like it's
Yeah, you're gonna go publish someone else probably in a giant TAM and
yeah, or
do it
like
again.
yeah, and like so now it's kind of becoming like the daily sales has become like it gets old really fast, which everyone says, but then when you start to experience it, you're like, oh yeah, this wears off really fast. So it becomes more of like, who can you become like in this process of like building a team, building a business that customers love, like
Hmm.
that becomes more motivating, because like,
Yep.
yeah, than like daily sales. Like those are
Yeah.
cool, but it wears off super fast.
Dang, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So talking about now the businesses, that ideas, things you've kind of been looking at, I think is pretty cool. What are some cool things you're seeing
Yeah.
in your world that have been exciting? Or you said you were crushing on them. What
Yeah.
does that
Yeah.
mean? And what are some of these
Okay,
ideas?
so
I'm
I've seen
curious.
some offers that
Hmm.
either are self-published or someone, I mean, one of them I know someone's publishing that person, and it
Okay.
just opened my mind to like possibilities. And
Okay.
this is for you
Okay.
too. So
Yeah.
like the
Oh yeah,
types
I'm
of
eating
deals
this
you need to
up.
do that I've been telling you that you need to do, but like zooming back, like up until a couple months ago, I had always been um I was like we started talking about like how big I think publishing is, and it's like it already has been really big for a long time. The biggest names that we know have all been published. Like, there's like Brene Brown is an author, like Mark Manson. That guy's got a subscription, and I think he says he's got like 20,000 people in his membership. Someone publishes him. I don't know if Mark does, your guy, but
Yeah, I
you
mean
know,
he's the one that published other people. Like,
totally.
yeah, so he's like
Did he work
celebrities.
with Mike Tyson?
Yeah, he brokered the deal. He did
Okay.
Jake Paul, Floyd
Because like
Mayweather, Alex
Mike Tyson,
Jones.
like this is the thing I think is so cool about publishing is like you have someone like Mike Tyson. I think he had a podcast where he smokes weed on his podcast, I think.
Yeah,
I don't know.
pigeons.
And
Yeah, or something.
then someone made a product that is an edible, a weed edible. It's the shape of an ear and there's like a bite missing out of it. You know what I
That's
mean?
so
And it's like
good.
how
Yeah.
that is like such a good product. And
Yeah.
when you look at it, you're like, obviously that crushes.
Yes.
It's
100%.
obvious, and then so for me, I think about those big names, and then like the world's biggest publishing offer that I think exists is like Beats by Dre, which I told you.
Mm.
Did you watch all the
Yep.
Defiant
Yeah.
ones?
What is it? What was the show called again? I
The
watched it.
Defiant ones.
Yeah, Defiant Ones.
Yeah. So
It's
Jimmy
famous for.
Iovine published
Mhm.
Dre, came up with the idea of Beats by Dre, partnered with Dre, and then they sold it to Apple for $1 billion or 2 billion or something.
So I'm
You
saying it's like
know,
it's out of this. It's not even just info. It's like,
Ecom is a big publishing one.
yeah.
Um,
That's like
like
very
I've
that's very
seen.
like a lot of YouTubers. You see a lot of publishers and they're always going to agents being like, let's do this product. But I was listening to like the Mr. Beast interview yesterday. If you don't, you should watch it with Colin Smear show. And he's talking about how like a lot of creators get it wrong, or like these companies come to them and sell them this grand vision, but they don't make a good product and then it
Okay, this is the
fails.
perfect lead. Like, I don't
Okay.
know. I've never watched a Mr. Beast video. I find them like, I don't have anything against them. I just
Yeah, no, it's just
like why
it's Gen Z, bro.
I don't understand it. Stay inside a circle
You
or
gotta
what.
watch Beast Games though, dude. You gotta. You
Okay,
gotta watch it.
but okay, this is my newest business crush
Okay.
that I'm like got it right. Like got it right. And I think um is okay, so Mark Rober. Do you watch Mark Rober?
Dude, let me
So
tell
I
you.
think
Yeah.
he's publishing himself, but like
Yeah.
you look at his business, like, there's a I listened to an interview with him and these two guys. Um, and he talks about his story and it's like, man, that guy figured it out. He figured it out. Period. Like he makes way less videos than Mr. Beast. So quality over quantity. You know how people are like
Yeah.
post a
True.
1,000 times a day.
Yeah.
He's like once a month or something. He figured that out. Um, his products are like next level. Like my son was sick, and so we like I forgot
Yeah.
about him, and then I put on a Mark Rober thing, and then he got the call to action in the middle of the video, like
Yes.
four
Oh
minutes,
gosh, yours.
and what he does is so Mark makes these super big builds, right? These like big rockets or whatever, and then shrinks them down, sends them to you in a subscription box that you can build yourself, and you cut each one comes with a video where you learn the engineering principle behind the build, and they're super fun. Um, and he's built so much moat, right? Like those
Yeah.
products are like I think he said it took him like 2 years to develop them. Those
Yeah.
products, like you cannot rip them off. Um, one of them is like he has a satellite in outer space, and you could take a picture of yourself from that satellite.
Yeah.
Like no one, you can't replicate that, right? And he's kind of like we were just saying about Mr. Beast is like the companies come to you and it's not the right fit. And I've got a
Yeah.
really good like I had a really good lesson about this in the past, but like let me just finish on Mark Rober. Like you get
No,
these,
you're good.
I bought it, right? It was like 300 bucks, a 1 year subscription. You get them
Yeah.
every month. All these different builds, comes with a video. And then in one of the boxes, he puts a golden ticket where, like, if you get the platinum ticket, you get to go to his headquarters and like hang out for a day. And like one time, it was like he's gonna pay for your college,
Like,
like
oh,
$80,000 you could
jeez.
win. So like the products are so well, like the congruency between his content is so perfect.
True. True.
You look at it, it's like next level. Like one of these hack pack things, it's like a rocket, right? It shoots these
Yeah, like
little
a Nerf.
turrets.
It's like those Nerf darts or
It's like a
whatever.
Nerf one, but you could program it. So like if someone turns on the
Yeah.
TV, it points at them and shoots them. If someone comes into your bedroom, it
Dude,
points at
it's
them and shoots them.
genius.
So
Like
like,
parents love it too because their kids are because it's like a sell to the parents. Your kids are hands on, they're building stuff. The sell, they could maybe go into tech, maybe they'll make them want to go into tech and they'll get a higher paying job, get off
hmm
video games. Like, bro,
yeah. So
it's
like the
genius.
whole congruency between all that is so good. And even the way he introduces it in his videos, it's like a 5 minute call to action. And I'm
It's
like,
long, dude.
it's so good. It's just,
But you
I'm
don't
enjoying it.
skip it. Yeah, you
Yeah.
don't skip it.
Yeah.
So
So
what about is that? Why are you crushing on that? Or how do you see what it like? What does
just
that
the
make you
moat
want to
that he's
do?
built around the product, it was an example for me, like how to level up
Mm.
the quality of your product so that no one can
Mm.
compete with you.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. So like the golden ticket is only one thing, but like, you know, coming back, so this is going to tie into what the Mr. Beast guy said and
Yeah.
Mark, and it kind of it's an example, it's like an
Mr. Beast
experience I
guy.
had once. Um,
Hmm.
so like I've worked with a few big like influencers in my life. Like once was like Kylie Jenner for about a year and a half, like with her, they launched 5 products. I mean, sorry, 5 businesses. And so I got to see the behind the scenes of that. And that was crazy.
Wow.
That was
Wow.
absolutely crazy. Yeah. And like putting this out there, like all the people who say that her business wasn't worth $1 billion, they got it wrong. Like when you know e-commerce multiples and like
Yeah.
her business smashed. And the reason was she had a super engaged audience and she, with the cosmetics, created like the perfect product for that audience, that super engaged audience. Because she also launched like Kendall Kylie, like which is like a fashion line, barely like barely did as well as the cosmetics. She
Yeah.
launched a merch site which didn't do as well as the cosmetics, like nearly anywhere close. And like the lesson here is like, I've seen that work really, really well. And then I've also worked with a guy who was like a photographer who did a course and he had like 700,000 followers. And, when I was freelancing, it was like, help me launch this course. Help him launch the course, made like $3,000. And I'm like, why? And the reason was his audience liked looking at pictures, but they
Mm.
didn't want to learn how to take photos.
Take them.
They just liked maybe like traveling, like looking, oh my gosh, there's a beautiful whale or mountain or whatever.
True.
So product market fit, and like that's kind of I think probably what Mr. Beast is talking about. But like
Yeah.
for me, you know, you have to those two experiences, like you have to. I think of it like a comedian. A comedian has to be able to read the room
Mm.
and you know, like you have to know what the people want and like come up with
Mm.
something that's gonna like make a reaction in them. And like that same market, that same group of
Yeah.
people, a year from now is gonna respond different to like right now. And
Mm.
so You have to be able to
Yeah.
read the room and feel like you need that.
How
You need,
how do you do that though? Because I get what you're saying. Because I feel like in certain markets, like one of the things I've developed, like over time, you just like pick up. It's like a sixth sense. I don't know how I could ever teach it to somebody.
yeah.
But like, how do you obviously you can look in forums and do it, but it's like, does it just come
No,
down as
there's
being
no
in
level of
it?
research. There's no level like
Yeah,
a bit of research matters, but
you just
like
gotta be doing it.
research, like I think Mark Rober in that there's an interview. I think
Yeah,
Samir, something in Samir,
yeah. Colin Smear, same guy as
those
did.
guys.
Yeah,
He
Mr.
talks
Beast.
about this. He's like, no survey would anyone ever come up with this idea. So it's emotional intelligence, right? You call it feel,
Mm,
but the reason like I say like a comedian is like emotional. You have to be able to feel those things, so research matters. You have to be able to see the people and pick up on the cues and then invent or come up with, be
the
creative
thing.
in a way that like, when someone's talking and like someone's like, yes, queen, or like that person's
Yes.
there's a match, like a product market fit match. And so,
Mm.
I
You
this
just gotta be
what
in it. Like, I just think
you
I'm just
have to
thinking like,
feel. You got to be in it, right? Like if you
yeah,
sell a product to people who go to the library a lot, like if you go to the
mm,
library and you set up a booth, like what's going to make a bunch of people come to your booth and like want to give you money for your thing?
yeah. Mm.
And
You just gotta like throw it out there and test. Like,
like
do you
like
ever?
pumpkin spice latte with
Yeah.
Starbucks, no focus group would a customer say, I want pumpkin spice
Okay.
in a
True.
drink. So it takes these like you have to have that feel, that intuition, and then you kind of put it out there in a focus group. Like, what does this taste like? Like, oh, that
Yeah.
tastes like fall. Yeah. So it's that
It's
X factor,
how
and
how do you do that? Like we're online, so a lot of we're online. So
yeah,
do you ever just like? Because sometimes I'll be testing in person as much as I can. Like one idea I had the other day of a thing to publish. I don't know how much moat would be behind this,
yeah.
but I like there's this app called Yuka or Yucca, and you essentially can scan products and it'll give you a rating on like how good it is for you. There's other ones like it. I'm sure there's one called like some Angie or I don't know. But you scan
Yeah.
these products and like tells you if it's good. And so, like, yeah, it kind of like looks like that. I'll show you the ranking, right? It's like green, and then it'll show you like, oh, are there additives
Okay.
then that you can like look at the additives. And then if you click into it, it shows you like the warnings, like, hey, these things are like less risk, right? Now, what I was thinking about is my wife right now, she's always trying to figure out what food won't mess up her hormones or her cycles, all those things. And it's like a big concern. What can she eat? What can she not? What causes acne? This like there's so many little things and it seems like an impossible game where you feel
Hmm.
hopeless. Like that's such a big problem. Like, what if there's an app where you scan the products, but it's just more towards the female market, and then it's like scan it and tells you this product has been in lab reports shows that, right? You're kind of like an arbitraging data from other places. You're really a
Yeah.
data research company. You scan it, what you
That
should
sounds like a
do,
pain. It's so much
right?
work.
It sounds like a lot of freaking work. And but I was like, I asked her, because I was like trying to fill out the room. I was like, would you get an app like that? Like, would that help you? And she's like, yeah. And so I've just been asking like all the women all the time, like, would you ever use that? And they're like, 100%. But then it's like, they're like, well, how can I trust the data? And I get all these
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
cons, right? So I'm
There
getting
you go.
feedback, but online, how can we do like, what are some ways that can
Yeah.
you even do that?
Yeah. I think it comes down to like mechanism. So for you,
Mm,
like, which I think is one of the more important parts of like copy or product
mm,
development. Like, because product, you make the right product, it has the right mechanism, then it's going to resonate and it's going to create that aha in the customer.
yeah,
Then they're gonna buy. So like give them that hope, right? Because you're saying your wife was feeling hopeless, right? So like so say
yeah,
acne, um, like coming up with a mechanism, you have to understand the problem really well, like the science
yeah,
in this case. So, a great way to, and then the delivery. So you have a mechanism in like the delivery of the product. So like acne, you have to create an aha. So you have to come up with. like do the research and find like here's this hidden cause of acne
Yep.
that no one's talking about. And then you kind of lead with that, right? Because if she has
Yeah.
acne, it's on her mind.
Yep.
She's probably tried creams, tried this, but it's like, if you have acne, it's because, 93% of acne is caused by like the type of air that you breathe when you're sleeping. And people are like, what? And it's like, well, because of this air, you know, can't get into your nose properly, then, you get, I don't know, it
Yeah, yeah.
causes this sort of thing that happens in your skin. And therefore, the best way to solve that is like with this either a cream or this breathing technique or this
Yep.
diet or this app that makes you like, okay, it comes down to like riboflavin or whatever. And it's like, dude, and that's hidden in every single thing. So maybe your app would help. So you have to have like a mechanism that's like true and actually works. So like the
Yep.
product is like really important. Like everyone's like offer, offer. I think
Yeah,
product's
yeah.
really important.
You can't have a good offer without if you have bad like because the
Yeah,
product
and it
creates
has
the
to fix
sales
the
messaging.
problem. Has to fix the problem.
Yeah.
And then so if it does fix the problem better than everything else, then you get testimonials. And so then when you're sharing this with people, like, oh, would you use this app? Like, oh, well, what about the data? And then they see hundreds of testimonials being like, this is me before, this is me after, this is me before, this is me
Yeah, yeah.
after. That
It
kind of
must be
squashes
good.
that.
True, true. Yeah, you
So
think about that. Okay, yeah.
so it
Because
how
it's
does
almost like,
the product mechanism, I think, is really what solves that.
but when you're publishing someone like with your partner,
You got to
did
dig
she
it out, man.
did she have like when you went to her, was it clear? Like, could you see? Oh, like, or did you
I
kind of have to
asked.
like architect
Yeah.
it?
Yeah. So I was like trying to publish my wife at one point, and I might in the future, with her some of her subject matter. And like
Yeah,
the first step for me is like, okay, the person like we'll go back to like the marriage counselor thing is like if I was to publish someone like that, the first thing I would do is like, okay, they've been doing this for a while, they've got a good track record with in-person clients. Then I would have a few conversations to develop the sales messaging, just being like, why is it so hard? Why do like, and then like dig out like all the problem and you're looking for those mechanisms. The truth is really what it is. What's the truth?
yeah,
And um sorry, let me just plug my computer in here.
you're good.
What's the truth? And then, the mechanism comes out and then
Yeah.
um the problem point, like, here's the reason why so many people struggle, and then the
Mm.
solution, like, and because of that, this is what has to be done.
What I'm curious what you think about this. One of my core, like in my mind, like after being in the game for like 8 years now, I'm trying to like over time create like my principles or like my core tenets because I believe everyone can have their own. We have our own personal things. But in terms of offer tenets, like these are my fundamental like tenets or principles. For me, it's like if the product or like the offer, the messaging isn't disruptive, like I don't want it. Like it needs to disrupt what other people believe to be true. Do you agree with that or not?
Um,
Is your product disruptive?
I mean, it is disruptive because it's better than the alternatives. It's better. It's cheaper, it's faster, it's easier, all of those things. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, product really, and we're always working to improve the product. Like, how do we make this easier? How do we make it simpler? How do we make it
Hmm.
integrate more? So, yeah, ours is disruptive. But also like, yeah, logical. We're in a really
Yeah. You're in a
interesting
very
market where
logical.
there's not a lot of like good solutions. So like sleeping babies, like, everyone, there's a few methods that exist, right? And those
Hmm.
methods are well known. It's like cry it out or suffer, or like the middle one, like the Ferber. And like there's a few methods, but like
Yep.
if you can like find an expert who's figured it out better, that's the key. Because like, let's say like the reason the reason why babies wake up so much at night and cry and scream and they have a hard time falling back asleep It's not because they're tired. It's because when they wake up, you know, this isn't true, but like the liquid in their ear isn't developed properly. And because of
Yeah.
that, every time they wake up, they feel like they're falling out of the sky and they're
Mm.
scared. They're so scared. And so that's why they scream and that's why they need to be comforted and that's why they need to get put back into,
Yep.
nursed
Yep.
back to sleep. So that's the reason why. And then people hear that like, oh man, I feel so bad leaving my kid in there. Or like, you know, that makes so much sense. And
Yeah.
then it's
Yeah.
like
Oh
we have
yeah. What
this little tape that goes on the side of their head that like makes them not feel like
that
that or
that ties it
whatever. A
that ties something I've
blanket
been
or a
thinking.
method.
It's like part of me thinks the reason why some products do well over others is they just have a better narrative of like what like I was thinking about Nvidia or whatever, how their stock is just going up, and the narrative was like ChatGPT is built on their chips. AI is the new thing, it's not going anywhere. AI is the future. So, and like without these chips, AI won't work. So let's invest in utility. But then we saw DeepSeek comes out. They build something better than ChatGPT without NVIDIA, and then their stock plummets. And I was like, that was like built on a narrative. And I think obviously like until proven different, like it has to be the truth. You can make up a fake narrative that's scammy and you turn into like a clickbanky offer that's like trash. But I'm like, I feel like some products, like they could be really good products, but they just have a terrible narrative. And it sounds like what that whole thing, like the narrative, like they're falling out of the sky, like that whole thing. It's like, dude, you won't forget that. You can't look at the world like any
Yeah.
different. You can't, or like, yeah, yeah, like anything.
Yeah, narratives are powerful. I mean, the stock market, it's a voting system. Again, like Warren Buffett, like it's like,
Yeah,
when I worked at Shopify, like when the company went public, um, the CEO said, the value of our company just went up 60% in a day. Did we make 60% more money? No. Did we get 60% more customers? No. Just more demand for the stock made the price go
yeah,
up. And
yep.
like the opposite happened, right? And there's like that squeeze that happened with GameStop, where like a bunch of
Hmm.
people on Reddit were like, hey, all these rich guys are trying to short GameStop. Let's buy a bunch of the stock. And then the stock went way up and like those hedge funds lost a bunch of money. And
Narrative against a rich guy. It's
yeah, yeah.
it's
So I mean,
crazy. It's
narrative's
like,
important. But like you can't make it up. Like it has to be
yeah, it
legit.
has to be true because they're gonna test you. They're gonna,
Yeah, it has to be
but
legit. It has to make sense. And then your offer and your product has to make sense and then be like,
yeah.
oh, that's going to make my life so much better.
Hmm. So with your creator, when you went to her and you saw what she was currently doing, could you clearly say, oh, she's got like already good product, I just need to market it, or did you have to do things to help it become a better product? Like what role did you play in making the product better?
Hmm. Yeah. So the product was already really good. It was based on like her years. She'd been doing it for like 10, 15 years before as like a, you know, practitioner.
Yep.
Um, and so the product was really good. I could see that like it's better than the alternatives.
Yeah.
And so the way we packaged it improved. We kind of
Mm.
took the main offer, broke it into different pieces so that people could, get like an intro,
Yeah. The
um,
economics.
add on, customize it for themselves, that sort of thing. But
Mm.
yeah, the first thing is just like understanding the product like super deeply. If they have a book, like reading it all, getting the essence, um,
Yeah.
and then even developing like in the messaging, we definitely developed the mechanism um, quite a lot.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Another
But
one? Oh, sorry.
no, the last thing, like I feel like part of your role as an offer publisher is extracting, like you said, like the mechanism, the narrative. Like part of it is like they might not be able to see it or know it, but it's there. And sometimes it's not. And you're just
Hmm.
like I know one of those the deal I told you about that I was working on, I was like, they seem so clear. And then when I started extracting, I was like, oh no, like there's nothing here. And then
Hmm.
it's like, or it's nothing different. So yeah, I think one big takeaway for our listening is like you have to kind of develop that skill of like extracting from people and like quickly seeing, do they have it? Do they not? But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
Anyways, what is
there's a lot of things that they need, right? They need to have personality. They need to have a good method or
yep.
system. Um, and again, it's like goes back to magic. Like, when no one Dr. Dre almost lost his job signing Eminem. And they're like, he's white. You want a white guy to come rap? Like, you've just had a bunch of failures. And then
Yep.
he saw something, right? And he's like, this guy's different. He's good. The world right now is going to respond well to him. And they did. Um,
Mm.
Another example, like I'm not crushing on this one, but I'm like impressed, is
Okay. Okay.
Brian Johnson, the Live Forever guy, the guy who spends like millions of
Oh
dollars a
yeah.
year.
Yeah. Health tech. Yeah.
Yeah, so like that guy is doing a good job and just had a documentary released on Netflix, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And the documentary was done really well, and I could tell like they got the e-commerce side set up, they got like a blood analysis
Mm.
thing set up, and
Funny.
you know, he's a different dude. But the documentary, you could see like his chief marketing officer kind of like goes to his house every day. So I don't know if she's technically publishing him or what team has helped build the ecom out, but like
Yeah.
the um the documentary he did was actually brilliant. Like, and you could tell on his Twitter or X or whatever is like, um, oh, we're so sorry. Our customer service response time's 7 days now. We didn't expect this huge. We expected a big thing from Netflix, but not this big. Um,
Yeah.
and like
Love
that's
that.
where again, like I think you need like your next deals need to go is um like this Mark Rober, Brian Johnson,
Mm.
like Netflix. It's it's basically a
Mm.
VSL their documentary, and like
Yeah, that's what I heard. It's like
what
some
is
like it just got
so
webinar.
brilliant, yeah, what is so brilliant about it is the writers. There's 3 or 4 times where they take his objections, his criticisms about him, and put it right out there. I think it even starts with that. Like, this guy is so weird. This is inaccessible. What about all of us who don't have $2 million a year? Um, and
It's
they
so
really
smart. That's so
they
smart.
played that, right? And like
Oh
this is where
no.
like copywriters, and I'm getting inspiration from is like he's a controversial dude and there's a lot of criticism and he just like leans into it, and the documentary really hits that. Um,
Dang.
but talking about mechanism, the guy's selling like olive oil. Like it's premium, right?
No
But he's also
way.
selling his supplements, right? Which like I think
Yeah.
are good. I think the supplements are like
Yeah.
probably benefit you. Um,
But like okay,
yeah, and
what
he's got a method, right? You look at his thing, he like stops eating by 11 a.m. so that he could sleep better at night. So he has breakfast at like 5 a.m. It's like interesting, different
yeah.
mechanism. So people are like, oh,
It's kind of like
I never
Liver
tried
King.
that. Yeah,
Like
yeah,
liver
yeah,
he
yeah,
was like a crazy experiment. He was kind of like that, very controversial.
yeah. Yeah, you need a better
But
product. You need not to lie.
yeah, I know. I was like, you need to not lie. I mean,
Yeah,
his supplement companies, dude, he already had some before, like 8-figure supplement companies. And then this like built up another. It's cute. Yeah, it was a lie, but he knew what
yeah,
he's doing. He knew this unethical way to do it, but he understood like the controversial, like having a controversial character message.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
you got Andrew Tate, like
Yep.
super controversial,
Yep.
crazy huge subscription.
Yeah. That's
What are
like
these
a
other guys? Iman.
Yeah, my Godzi.
Yeah.
Mark Lack, he published Alex Jones back in the day, and that was
Mm,
like that one did like
yeah.
3.2 million in a day or something. And it was like because super controversial and die hard. People who hated him
Yeah.
probably love him.
Yeah. But like, the reason I have such a big crush on Mark Rober's setup is like, he's doing everything so well, like with such good
Yeah,
integrity, you know,
true,
making like really good products that are good for the world. Like,
true.
not just making content just to make content, but it's like entertaining, it's like purposeful.
Hmm.
Um, and it's like his heart, he's just such a good, just seems like such a good person, and he's just like giving a gift to the world. And when you look, they've delivered millions of boxes. Like the
Mhm.
company's probably done 30 to 50 million so far, and eventually, like I think is gonna keep just
100 because it's
keep
a toy,
going.
it's almost like a toy company, but it's better educational. So you think about like he's essentially competing with toys or entertainment for kids. And so and his seat cost per acquisition is almost, I mean, he spends video money on his videos, but you know it's got to be cheaper than if he
I'm
was
sure
doing.
AdSense pays for the video production,
True,
and
yeah,
then
true. You
that
got
like it probably
AdSense.
been just more than that, and then
I
um,
think the takeaway I'm hearing from you on this is one, obviously product, or the first thing is like you said with your first deal, you want something that transformed. You want to publish one that like the product would transform somebody and would actually do good for the world. So that's like a bigger, having something that is going to do good for the world, a gift to the world. The second thing obviously is like, a good product to do that, which kind of plays hand in hand, or a good person who cares. And then it's also like moat, which is like byproduct too, like having like just a good product people can't compete with. Those are like the two
mhm,
things I'm hearing, like when what you're looking for in publishing deals or what you did that
mhm,
may go against just like, oh, just anybody or, just, oh,
mhm. Yeah, those
yeah,
are two big things. Tactical mentorship,
yeah, tactical
people
mental.
who've
Yep,
like done the thing that you
yep,
want to do.
yep,
Um, which again, like, I can't have one of these talks without mentioning Alan Sultanich.
yep.
Like the stuff he teaches is like it's completely next level. And I got it through a lot of it through Mark,
Yeah, other
but then
people.
going straight into Fast Forward or NHB is like, one of these things, you'll listen to like a super long call and then like you'll say one sentence and that sentence can like change your business. And
Yeah,
one of the ones
yep.
that he did for me, I don't remember which call, maybe it was offer publishing or maybe membership, but he's like,
Mhm.
one of the biggest things you could do for your business is like put love into it. Like put
Mhm.
love into your business. And like when you think about it that way, like when I heard that, I started thinking about my customers, like doing like almost like a meditation, like thinking about these people who like could be transformed. And then just being like, what can I do to like
Or yeah,
help them, and that is gonna force you to make a better product. Um, and that's what it is for me, is like, yes, you need a good market, which is like big TAM, in my opinion, transformational, like opportunity to transform someone, a product that's way better, personality, like having the right fit between you and
Mhm.
your expert, your partner, reading the room and just like feeling what does the world need right now and testing it out and getting the feedback. Um,
Yeah,
uh, yeah, tactical mentorship. And like I think longevity is like a really important thing, and that comes from the product because like
yeah.
I think a lot of people can make six figures a year, 200,000, $300,000 a year, but I think getting up to like the seven figures a year or 7 figures a year in profit, you have to make a really good, like you have to have a really
Yeah.
good product and it has to be a
Yep.
great experience for the customer.
Yep.
And
That's
that's
awesome.
unfortunately like
You can't
not
teach
very
it.
easy
You
to
can't
do.
process it. You can't, you either have it or you don't. You make it or you don't. Like,
Yeah, and you just
there's
got to
no
keep,
timeline. Like, that's one of the things you just have to like let go of as much as like, I think a lot of internet marketers, including myself before, I used to be like, just give me a process to make a good product or like, what's the secret? It's like, shoot, like there's not like, most companies, they just spend years developing their products. They're not profitable forever. And so,
but yeah, like there's clues, right? Like, and this is probably
yeah.
a big lesson for me is like success leaves clues. And that's why I study people like Mark,
Yep.
Jimmy Iovine, all these people like Eminem. Like, why is like another random, okay, not random, but like publishing. A friend of a friend of mine works for, they do the merch for Universal Studios and all the Eminem and all
Mm.
the celebrities. And he was like, we were having dinner one day, and the guy's like, yeah. I was like, what was the coolest product you ever did? Like, do you do custom stuff or just merch? And he's like, well, the coolest one we ever did was Eminem's childhood home was being demolished, and so he went and he took all the bricks, the 8 Mile, one of the houses on 8 Mile, and he sold each brick for $500, and it sold out in like 30 seconds. And I was like, that's like it's cool, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's like,
Yeah. The
you know,
memorabilia, yeah, collectible.
yeah.
Hmm.
But I don't know. There's success leaves clues, right? Which is why I look at the biggest like Amazon. They're doing something right. Like
Hmm.
Netflix, Disney Plus when they launched. That was a that was so cool.
Yeah, it was
Coming out at
massive.
$6.99 a month, like penetration pricing, that was crazy. And they clearly had this whole plan, like remove all your stuff from Netflix. Oh, you guys want to watch Marvel? It's over here now. Like success leaves clues, so I'm always
Yeah, you're
studying
always looking.
these things you can always learn from.
You should watch the Mr. Beast interview from Colin Smear. You'd love it. It's crazy because for product, like he got so in his chocolate company Feastables, he's found out that I think it's like over 90% of cocoa is like sourced from like farms that have like child labor. And he was like, bro, like he was like, he's all right, that's awful. And
Hmm.
so it's crazy what he did. He like went to like this places and he started like negotiating with the farmers to like pay him enough so that they could not have to hire children because the other Hershey's, everything, they would like screw the cocoa farmers over so they wouldn't get enough profit. And so they had to hire children. So Mr. Beast, I'll pay you more. But then they're like, well, okay, our kids are out done working. What are they going to do? And Mr. Beast's like, well, can't they go to school? And they're like, well, we don't have schools. So now Mr. Beast is building schools so just so you can have a better product and then he's doing with the intents that he can start knocking Hershey's being like at least my chocolate isn't sourced from and so I was like that's a love for
Well,
the product like that's insane
yeah,
that's insane
which is good, right? You
it's
want good
awesome
people,
yeah he's
and
a
this is the
YouTuber
thing.
he's a
It's an
YouTuber
example of probably why he's so successful and why,
mm,
another person like this Mark Rober, hearing him talk about like his business, it's like they they like they like labor in the details, right? And they
yeah
care about like all those little things, and they find out about that stuff and like they dig deeper and like I could tell it's probably why he's so successful. Same with Mark Rober and like another person I found, her name Jenny Hoyos. You know her?
no I don't what does she
She
do
I saw this she's YouTube shorts. Like I saw
hmm
this one video on YouTube is like I can make anything go viral. And I
hmm
watched her video and she like obsesses over
oh
the little details, and that was like a really clear example. I'm sure Mr.
yeah
Beast is the same. Mark Rober, it's
yeah
like
yeah
they're she shared this story like she does mostly shorts and she's like I think all of them get like 10 million views or something. And one of them she's like it flopped and I was trying to figure out why and it realized that she had a massive drop off at the last half a second. So she trimmed the half a second off, re-uploaded it,
Mhm.
and boom, took off again, you know? And it's like that really
do
intense,
you think
like,
people who can't pay attention to detail or don't pay attention to detail can still be that successful, or is it like what's your philosophy on that?
yeah, it's a good question. Like, if they
I
can't pay
mean,
attention,
I guess it depends on what extent, like what is the measurement of successful? Because I mean, you think, someone making 100,000 a year, some would be really successful, and but then you compare it to like Mr. Beast is doing a billion, it's like, oh, you're not that. So I guess, yeah, maybe
I think
that's
some
not the right
people on
question
the
to ask, but
team have to be that way, no matter what. Like, super intense people who kind of labor over everything. Someone on the team, and I think that's one of the people
true.
who's going to be the one who makes the impact. So
Yeah,
like the reason I say this is because like I think about 50 Cent. I don't think that he's like, where are my sneakers made? But like, you know, him working with, Dr. Dre and Jimmy
yeah.
Iovine, like I know Jimmy Iovine being like, watching that documentary, he's like, he took over Apple Music and he's like, there's a clip of him in the documentary, like coming into the office. He's like, I went to a family dinner and I asked my nephews, do you guys use Apple Music? And they said no. And I was like, it made him like
He's
furious.
so pissed.
And he's
Yeah.
like, why? He was talking, you see him talking to the marketing team. Why doesn't everyone know about this or everyone use it? And I think you need you need that every project needs that driver who's
Yeah.
looking at things like, and you could tell like with Alan, this is what he would have done. And like
Hmm.
for me, it's probably unhealthy, but like poring over the details of like looking at like the page, how people
Yeah.
interact on your page, like obsessing like, oh, like what if I change this one word in like the upsell, like, or what
Yep.
is it, and it's like people who work with me, I feel sorry for them because it's like
Yeah.
just super
Yeah.
high standards. But when I study other people, like, I mean, Jeff Bezos, I think is a super interesting guy. And I think he's super high standards, super intense, probably
Yeah.
person to work for. I don't know much about Elon Musk. I don't know much about other people. Um,
Yeah.
but
I
yeah,
get that.
I think can you be super successful like if you don't really care about the details? I think only if you have someone who really does.
Hmm.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
think
that's
anyone can
fair.
do it though. I think anyone can do it. It's just
True.
a
I guess
matter
it's
of
it's
being
just
willing.
discipline, like in
Yeah.
wanting it.
Yeah. And I know people lean on like ADHD, right? Like I've
Yeah,
been
fair.
diagnosed with ADHD.
Yeah.
And then when the person's like, "Do you want medication?" I'm like, "No." I'm like it's good to know. But
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I have, and I think it shows up in different people like in different
Mm,
ways. Some people have a hard time starting.
mm,
Um, you know, um, yeah, for me it's like I have a hard time like I have to I get burnt out really like
mm.
I will see all the details and feel all the things and then like
Yep.
after a few hours I'm like I need to recoup
Yeah.
uh or just
Come
lots of
back.
coffee but I know people I know there's different avatars of people and people who are they get overwhelmed with the details
Yeah.
but I think it's a muscle you can build you know for those people who have a tough
True.
time like getting easily frustrated at page builders or whatever. Like, I think people can build that skill.
Yeah, you can get through that if you want it
Yeah,
enough.
yeah.
Dang.
So, yeah.
That's awesome.
Anyways,
Good
that's
stuff.
my answer to that. Like what you said there is like, yeah, people really they need to hear this, right? And this is something that I see like in digital marketing, like it's something I try and tell everyone is like, as soon as you create an offer and put it out into the world, it's the exact same as you stepping onto like an NBA court. You are immediately, doesn't matter if you're a beginner, doesn't matter if you're in grade eight, whatever, you're competing with the absolute, like you're competing with Mark Rober, you're competing with me, Kylie Jenner, Mr. Beast, you're competing with everyone for like attention and you can't get any conversion without attention. So as soon as, when people say Facebook ads don't work, I'm like, yeah, they don't work for you. Just like free throws don't work for you. Like, because you're not like the absolute best in the world. And there's a reason. Like, I know this for a fact. Rough numbers, roughly 5% of Shopify stores and Kajabi stores make enough revenue to pay for their subscription. And there's a reason, because it's really, really, really hard. And that's why I pay for mentorship because and that's why I obsess over things is because as soon as you put something on the internet, you're competing in the NBA, and that's why only a few people do really well. So that was that. That was that
Good.
rant that
That's
I want to get out there.
that's good. I love it.
Yeah.
Doug, I appreciate it. I think we'll definitely be doing some follow-up things in future. Here's some other ideas, things you're seeing. This is very enjoyable. And if you guys like this or enjoyed it, make sure to leave some love below. I'm not gonna link you. There's like one of the get you're like, don't.
Yeah. I
So
don't have social
there's
media.
nothing to
Yeah.
find. If you guys look up dougcrow.com, there's a dude.
Kind of
May or may
looks.
not be the right Doug.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go follow him.
Go
You can
follow
go
him and
you can go opt
yeah.
into whatever he's got.
Yeah. It's
Um,
convenient. Yeah.
it's very convenient. But we appreciate you jumping on, man. Thank you so much.
No worries. No worries.